Hi guys, we're Frenchie and the Brit, and we're doing a top 10 video now.
Top 5 video.
Top 5, well it's top 10 in total.
Top 10 in total, 5.
5. We do have a couple of kind of rules with it. We've only done AAA games, only of this generation.
No indie game.
Yeah, no indie games, hence only AAA games.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily the best games, but the games we had the most fun with.
Yeah, so it's our personal, doesn't mean it's objectively the best one.
Yeah. And going in first for the number 5 is Kevin.
Well, number 5 would be, for me in my case, Resident Evil 7, which is not usually my type of game, but I thought it was really went back to the idea of horror, the tension, the fear. You really lost the idea of stupid, brainless action that you had in 5 and 6. Really loved it. I was scared about the first person perspective, but in the end it turned out really good to be more immersive. And as a cons, maybe I could say that the ending became too much into action, and that's pretty much it. Really loved it. Number 5 of Josh. Tension.
Number 5 for me is Uncharted 4. Now, I never played Uncharted, any of them, until I got a PS4. I was always an Xbox fanboy. But out of all of them, it's got the kind of most streamlined combat to it. It sort of got the mechanic of the third-person shooting right. Whereas in Uncharted 1, for instance, it was just terrible. Well, not terrible, but it didn't work in the way it should have done. The plot for it kind of kept at a good pace. It didn't have any moments where it started to dip. All of the characters interact really well, and you really feel for a kind of older Nathan Drake who's not really into it and missing his adventure. It's also got some more interesting kind of level environments to wander through. Special mention to the sort of section in Africa.
The open world bit, kind of.
Yeah. However, the fact it doesn't have the mythology to it anymore weakens it somewhat. And the puzzles in it aren't as interesting as it really used to be. They got a bit normal, if I had to say anything.
No, it's just the idea of the brother arriving at the last minute that was a bit...
Yeah, the brother, I like the mechanic,
in the
but they didn't really mention the brother at all in any other games.
That's
which,
what's a bit... Yeah.
But it was there. That's probably the best way to look at it. Number 4.
Which one was it? Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, obviously we probably focus too much on Kingdom Hearts. Maybe a bit too much, but to be fair, Kingdom Hearts 3 that I played recently and finished it quite quickly was really, really good. It's a bit rushed conclusion. The story go completely haywire. It doesn't make sense. It's completely stupid, but it's a good damn popcorn fun, you know. I mean, the gameplay is hectic. It's visually amazing. I had lots of fun with the variety of gameplay. So you have the open world kind of in Pirates of the Caribbean. You have a lot of verticality with the Big Hero 6 world. That was damn freaking fun. And the only cons that I would say in it is that the ending is a bit fuck off addressed to the audience.
That's a very mellow viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that they tease you in the beginning that you expect to see it, and without spoiling, let's say that at the ending it's a bit of a red herring. Red herring. Apologies to my accent. Thanks to my colleague, I can correct it. So yeah, it's a bit of a red herring at the end. It turns out not being really developed, and it's a bit frustrating, but still really, really good game.
Well, for me, my number 4 is Batman Arkham Knight, which a lot of people had a lot of problems with, mostly the PC crowd, and that was down to a lot of issues regarding its release being buggy and messy. However, it maintains the combat and makes it work even better, which all the Batman games, I mean, they started this whole kind of, one attack button and a counter button, free-flowing combat. All the gadgets are integrated really well. And it's also got the design, the Arkham design of the villains. They all look great. They look like realistic, but also comic-y at the same time. I mean, that isn't the case with all of them. Poison Ivy is, for one thing, green, but it's still better than Batman and Robin's Poison Ivy. Either way, I mean, you know, yes, there was a weakness with it regarding the overuse of the car, and it was used quite a bit more than it really should have been. The constant moving around and all this other stuff really kind of weakened the gameplay. But at the end of the day, it is just fun being Batman.
Yeah, I could say.
And
now we're reaching the last three. You know, I mean, the first
number three.
So number 3 for me would be God of War. I mean, God of War was freaking phenomenal. And it's really because I'm a JRPG guy that it's not number 1. Because, I mean, everything in it is just revamped from the whole series before was like really action-based and quite fun, don't get me wrong. Loved it. I mean, loved ripping head off of gods, you know, that was really, really funny.
And so casually said as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just God of War in a nutshell. But the new one really just managed to be true to like the original series while completely departed from it. It just became a very story-driven, and the whole thing that basically the whole game is kind of like one shot, like one take. It's very cinematographic in the idea. You just follow from the back, and every scene is just put seamless with the actual gameplay. The voice acting is phenomenal. Boy. Yeah. I mean, everyone, like, every time I heard this, I was just like, well, yes, where? Call me. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Didn't know Kratos needed a beard till he had a beard.
Yeah, but, you know, it has to go with the idea of the daddy issues and things. You know, that's like really the topic, you know.
That's the topic.
Game. Oh, yeah.
Got daddy issues, grow a beard.
That solves everything. What do you think? Here we go. No, yeah, God of War was really, really good. I can't find any flaw in it.
Boat.
Yeah, maybe, you know, you have like some bits with the bows that are a bit slow, but even this, you have like the dialogues with Mimir, with the dad, the kid, everything is just, I don't know, I fucking loved it. And I haven't even talked about the gameplay. I mean, this throw of the axe, every time you pick it up, it's just...
That's just you wanting to be Thor.
Yeah, I just want to call my Mjolnir, you know, just, yeah, it's phenomenal.
Fair enough. Well,
number 3.
My number 3 is a lot simpler, but it will cause a bit of controversy. It is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, I'm going to get a lot of flack for that not being higher, or I might get a lot of flack for that not being higher. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the game as it was. You know, I enjoyed being a cowboy. I loved the fact that, you know, the characters all around the camp and the characters in your gang, they all feel like real people. The shooting is much the same as it was in the first Red Dead Redemption, but just enhanced. There's a bit more weight to the guns. Saying that, there isn't a lot of reason to change guns often. There's a lot of stats, but really they don't seem to make that much difference. I loved the way you bond with your horse and it develops a bit more of an affection towards you. The towns feel a lot more lived in. There's people going about their daily business. I did not like all the health cores and the stamina cores that all went down after time and you had to eat and drink and all that other stuff. Because it just doesn't fit in a GTA-ish kind of game unless you're going to physically get fat.
Well, that's what they did in
San Andreas. Yeah, you could make yourself into a giant rolling ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which you can't in this because you wouldn't be able to get on a horse and it would look hilarious but be completely counterintuitive. I want that as a mod. Somebody make that a mod where you can have Fat Arthur.
If you can do it, do it.
That would make me happy. And that leads us into number 2, the second highest. First with Frenchie's number 2.
Well, number 2, we're gonna go into my field. So we go into JRPG. Persona 5. Persona 5 was just...
Yeah, I mean, I love Persona 5.
That was phenomenal. I mean, it's very stylish, very... You know, whether you take like the music, the aesthetic, the setting, everything is like very urban Japanese, you know, kind of settings. Well, it's Tokyo, I think, yeah.
It is.
Well, kind of this fictionalized version of
Shibuya.
Tokyo. Shibuya, yeah.
Which is Tokyo.
Which is Tokyo.
I think.
Yeah, it's Tokyo. It's one of the...
Wouldn't know, never been.
Anyway, the characters are really good, really well written, very human, you know, in their behavior. The topics they deal with very mature subjects that you rarely see done that well in JRPG. It's usually very cliche. Here, it kind of avoids. You know.
It's less dark than the others, though, to a degree.
Oh yeah, I mean it's well, if you go back in like the original Persona, that was way harder, way darker. I mean in the third one, like to call your persona, you shot yourself in the head. It is, here it's kind of toned down a bit, you know.
Yeah.
But
There's less.
yeah, the gameplay, I mean the dungeon really, you know, every dungeon has their own identity. Yeah, and it shows that you can finally do turn-based combat with still something quite hectic, original and fun, you know, because everyone tend to like drop turn-based battle nowadays.
Yeah.
So this one is a proof that you can still do it. Probably the only cons that I would say is if you have 100-hour games, please do at least 2 battle music theme, because I love it, I love the music, but I don't give a fuck about the last surprise after 100 hours. Too much.
My number 2 is Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is a game that is, funnily enough, hard to love, if I'm honest. It is a game that was released by a very rookie developer. It's kind of one of their first major games, and they went with a historically accurate open world game. Now that's something that is next to unheard of, you know. It's showing things that you wouldn't normally see in a game. In many kind of fancy RPGs, you get a character, you get a sword, you hit things and the sword goes through everything like nobody's business. In this, you don't have that option. You have to think your plans, you have to use the combat properly, you have to use combos. If you use your sword too much, it dents, gets bloody, doesn't work anymore. You don't start as a swordsman who can beat everything just because you found a wooden stick. You have to learn how to do it, you have to go to trainers to be able to do it. And what's more than that, it's more just the character that you play, Henry, is just a lovable guy. His story is interesting and all the path he goes on is fascinating. And it's a great way to live in a world, you know, in the past without having to actually live in the past.
So without all the peasants and...
Yeah, without the poverty, disease,
Yeah.
being murdered by someone who's got more money than you and a bigger sword. Which does happen, funnily enough. I die constantly when I play. I still haven't completed it. But saying that, it does have the faults most kind of rookie developed games have. It is buggy beyond belief. They are patching it slowly. And kudos to them, they are showing their dedication. They are constantly patching it. But even then, a long time goes on before anything actually happens. And also the lockpicking minigame, it's just terrible. It's not worth doing. It's just a nightmare. Yeah, that's one I kind of recommend. Right, and now we're going to number 1 on our list of the top 5 games of this generation for us personally. Starting with...
well, number 1 for me was straight away, no hesitation, Nier Automata. It's a phenomenal game. I played the previous one, so the first Nier, and I've been harassing Josh to play it.
Constantly, but I hated the first Nier.
Let's put salt on the wound, you know.
Yeah.
It's a great game. I mean, Automata managed to keep the really great story really well written of the first one, which I think a great gameplay on it. I mean, it's a Platinum game. Will handle the gameplay bit, so it's way more hectic and, you know, fun. Like really, you have a very Bayonetta feel when you play it. And it deals with very strong topic. Like it's very existential. I mean, if you know Asimov, you know, like everything about the robot, like what it means to be a robot, what it means to exist, what makes us human. And it deals this in a very subtle way, very clever way. It plays around with the media of video game itself, you know, breaking the fourth wall sometimes. And it's just, for me, it's like the game that everyone should play this generation. And the music, the soundtrack is phenomenal as well. The character, the everything. If I really have to think of maybe one flaw into it, would be that the open world is tiny. Maybe. I mean, we're used nowadays to standard open worlds that do kilometers, or, you know, I don't know, Red Dead Redemption 2, you have a massive map or whatever. The world of Nier Automata is kind of small somehow, but beside that, it's just everything is. There's no padding up in the story. There's no. Yeah, just fucking play it. Definitely, you have a PS4, go for it. It's gonna be released on Xbox One, I think, as well. Yeah, he's not gonna say anything because he's gonna criticize it, and he knows that this is gonna piss me off.
Woo!
So, no, great game, play it. It's a get-go, definitely. Is number 1.
My number 1 is SpiderMan. There's not a lot I have to say over it that everyone doesn't already know, to be honest. SpiderMan, it's the recent release of SpiderMan, and it kind of takes everything we all loved about Spider-Man 2 on PS2 and just improves them. The web swinging is the best it's ever been, I know, for the last few games, because obviously Spider-Man has a bit of a torrid history with games. There are loads of them, and the majority of them kind of suck. Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, Spider-Man...
Well, Shattered Dimension was alright.
Yeah, but it wasn't an open world game. If you're going to have a Spider-Man game, it has to be an
okay.
open world game. But no, the web swinging is easily the best it's ever been. Getting around the city in it is amazing. It feels great. It really makes you feel like Spider-Man. The combat system works well with the implementation of gadgets. It's very easy to look awesome while you're doing anything. You know, you can jump up, stick a guy, swing around, hit him, stick another guy. It's just fun. That's all that really said. And the world feels alive. You know, New York City, it feels like you're in New York City. There's people walking around, you can interact with them on the floor. If I had to say anything bad about it, one of my biggest gripes is regarding the missions in it. You spend the majority of your time fighting gangs, which are just normal people. And it gets a bit repetitive over time where you're just fighting one group of guys with guns and another group of guys with guns. When really you want to be fighting supervillains for a lot of it. You know, you want to be going... And I realise they've got a bunch in there, but they're all kind of introduced at the end in 2 people on you fights. I'd rather have had more villains that I could fight separately who have kind of tricks and gimmicks that you can play with to feel like a superhero. But regardless of that, it is just great fun to play. You know, I think it might be one of the best games released on PS4.
Well, beyond Nier Automata, but yeah.
Do we trust a Frenchman?
Nier Automata. Nier Automata.
Brexit.
Play Nier Automata before Brexit, okay?
Brexit before Automata. Hashtag Brexit.
Near Brexit?
Hashtag Brexit.
Yeah, we're near Brexit, you know, Nier Automata, near Brexit.
If you play Nier Automata, you'll see what England will look like after Brexit. Wasteland and robots.
Here we go.
Hashtag Wasteland.
Well,
thanks very much, guys. If you enjoyed it all, leave us a comment or maybe a like. We'd love to hear from you regarding what your top 5
What is
were.
your top 5?
And why?
Does it include Nier Automata? No, yeah, tell us your number 5. I mean, your top 5.
No, it's fine. Just tell them what they like. That's no problem. Shall I give you a metal stick?
Tell us your top 5.
Hashtag stick.
And yeah, I see you.
Doing that?
We see you next time. Hopefully, when
See you
Brexit
guys.
did not arrive.
Hashtag life.
Take care, guys.